All right, welcome Paradigm Shifters. It is December 13th. Can you tell? 2022. Wow. Paradigm Shifters, we are a growing global community dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. And I love the fact that we are, not like little over 1,500 members strong, and we've been going since 2020. And so I'm so excited to, this December we've been, we picked the topic of faith. So let's take a deep breath in on that word and that feeling. For me, faith is a feeling, it's an action. Yeah, and I'm so grateful that our guest speaker today is Sherri Nickols, the one and only.
Thank you.
Yay, California in the house. And so let me tell you a little bit about Sherri. She's an award-winning author, international teacher, speaker, and transformational coach and healer. I love the fact that you're trained in sound healing, and you're also a mind-body energy expert, passionate about helping women move forward after betrayal by developing strength, courage, and confidence. And through Sherri's work as a coach and teacher for the past 15 years, Sherri's taught thousands of women around the world how to find inner peace, trust, and learn how to open their hearts to create healthy, loving relationships, most significantly with themselves. And I love it. You've been a guest on CBS KCAL9, Good Morning San Diego, View from the Bay, and San Diego Living. Now, I love it. Your book, Sexy and Sparkling After 40, introduced your 7-step sparkle system and is the basis for your private and group coaching programs. I remember when you were first doing the sparkle.
You do. Wow.
Yeah, Sherri and I have been friends for years. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Sherri, and there you go.
Well, Judy, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for having me on the show. Your show, Paradigm Shifters, is so important and significant. And I'm so grateful for the work that you do and the work that you bring to the world. And it's just really a privilege to be here with you today. So I thank you very much for having me. So, wow. Yes, we have been friends for a long time. And I so appreciate that. And I love the topic that you've chosen and the opportunity that you're giving me to speak into faith for your episode today. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to take everybody back a few years and explain why faith is so important to me. And I love, Judy, actually, how you said faith is action. And I think that is a really brilliant a brilliant perspective, because a lot of times we don't look at it as action. It's more, around, I'll believe, do you believe or not? But it is taking those steps in faith. So speaking to that and talking about faith, I want to really just jump right in and share. First of all, you talked about my experience in betrayal. And so for those of you listening, have you ever experienced a time in your life where you have been betrayed? Whether it be, betrayal's a big, deep, powerful topic, I have found. It can be betrayal in a romantic relationship with the partner, which was my experience. And it can be betrayal from a boss. It can be betrayal from a sibling or a friend or, a coworker. It can happen on so many levels. I don't think anybody escapes it on this planet. So that's basically what initially had me looking into transformation, is that I was in a marriage that where I was betrayed. And I started studying transformation. So after that, I started studying with top people and wanted to learn everything about it. So imagine this, you've been betrayed. I want to take you to a point in my life that was probably one of the lowest points. And that was when I was in Sedona. I was at a retreat, and here I found myself sitting at this very powerful vortex in Sedona. It was really stormy out. And I was sobbing, crying my eyes out, sitting in the rain, and my whole body shaking, just feeling like I was probably the worst person on the planet. And so how did I get there? And that vortex feeling that way was that I had been in a transformation group, and we were at a retreat, and my mentor publicly shamed me and humiliated me and actually kicked me out of the group and ostracized me. And so there I was sitting at this vortex, not knowing what to do, and I don't know if you've ever been betrayed and you have that feeling like, oh my gosh. So not only was I betrayed, but I wasn't even I live in California. So I wasn't home. As I said, I was ostracized, so I couldn't talk to anybody. I just felt humiliated and beyond rejected. I mentioned when I went through my marriage breaking up and finding out that my husband had betrayed me, and that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking. But this was soul shattering. This was like somebody took my soul and was just smushing it down to nothing, because I was with this group of people that I was told were my soul family, were my, deeper than my biological family, that they were my soul family. And to have all of them turn on me was horrific. And so I looked up to the sky and I saw this blue sky, this opening like far away. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to get to the light. I just knew deep in my soul that this feeling of being shattered, it was too much. I couldn't deal with it. And so I got in my car and I drove to this place where the light was shining through. And I just prayed. I lifted my hands up to the sky and I said, God help me. I don't know what to do here. And as I drove back to the retreat, something really powerful happened to me. And that was that I had this nudge to as I was driving, look to the left. And as I looked to the left, Judy, I saw this white cross and a sign that said, Jesus saves. And then I had another nudge, turn my head to the right. And, on this Jesus Saves side, it was dark and stormy skies. And as I turned my head to the right, there was this beautiful red rock mountain with this gorgeous rainbow arching over it. And it was beautiful sunshine. And I stopped my car. I literally stopped my car and I took a picture of it. And to this day, it's my screensaver because it is a reminder that in that moment, I thought, you know what? It gave me hope. And I thought everything is going to be okay. I didn't know exactly what it was going to mean because I'd always believed in God. Well, let me back that up. When I was a teenager, I would say I was agnostic, and I flirted with learning about all the different, I took a world religions class and I flirted with all the different religions, but I did not grow up as a Christian. Really. I mean, my family, we went to church at Easter, maybe one time a year. And so I didn't grow up knowing the Bible or understanding it or anything about it. So I didn't have a relationship, I would say, with God, or certainly not Jesus. And so at this point, I knew that this meant something, but I wasn't sure what. And I went back to the hotel where I was staying, and I just cried myself to sleep. I just literally, I could not get comfortable in this betrayal of my mentor. And it was really horrific. And so the next morning I went down for breakfast, and I overheard, I think this was really a defining point for me, because I overheard the woman who owned the inn where the retreat was being held. She was sitting at the table next to me, and she was talking to a couple who were also staying there. And she was talking about God. And I just knew it was meant for me to hear. You know, that feeling where you hear something, you overhear something, and your soul just kind of leaps up, and you know, pay attention. And so when she left and she went in to the desk, I walked in, and I asked her if I could pay her to pray for me, because I thought, you know, according to my mentor, I am just basically the worst person on this planet. And I need I know this is going to sound weird, but this is where my head was at then. I need an exorcism. I need somebody to pray over me, and I will pay them, you know, whatever it takes. And this is going to make me emotional. I remember asking her, would you pray for me? And I remember her taking my hand and looking me in the eye and saying, oh, it would be so my privilege and honor to pray for you, and you do not have to pay me a penny. And I remember crying because I was so touched. I didn't feel like I was worthy of that kind of kindness. So she took me, you know, back to my room, and she and her husband came, and they prayed with me, and she asked me if I would like to accept Christ into my life. And in that moment, I made that decision to say yes, because I remembered the sign on the road that said Jesus saves. And I just intuitively knew that I couldn't do this on my own. I was in too much pain, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And the thought that there was a way to be free of it, to be saved, I said yes. And after that, I just bathed. They gave me, you know, they just so poured into me and gave me a lot of Christian worship music, and stayed with me, and, you know, just really poured love into me. And between having that quiet time with the worship music and allowing myself to receive that love, that divine love, that Christ love, Judy, literally within 24 hours, my pain was transformed. It was gone. It went from total devastation, soul shattering, to really being transformed into, I'm going to say, joy, because that is what I felt at the core of my being. And, you know, I think when I was had that opportunity to see the Jesus Saves, and then the big red rock with the rainbow over it, it was very symbolic, because what I was really longing for in that moment was to feel like I belonged, to feel accepted, to feel that I was lovable, to feel strong, because I felt very weak in that moment, and to really understand and feel like like that mountain just standing so strong, right? I wanted to feel like that, and I wanted to feel hopeful. And so that's how I felt when I allowed myself to receive all of that love, to let it pour in. I felt strong. I felt accepted. I felt that I belonged. And I realized that the discovery was just to pour myself into learning more about Jesus, learning more about his message, and learning more about this concept of saving. Because I think growing up, and I encounter it now too, I think a lot of us have a misunderstanding about what that means to be saved, and have this as I said, a misunderstanding about it. And so what I grew to understand about it and discovered was really, as I said, I studied and I poured in and I studied with top mentor. I did actually, took me a long time to trust another mentor. But I did. And I just kept on my path. And what I discovered about saving, that I'm really passionate about sharing with people. And those of you listening today, my prayer is that you receive this in a way that really lands with you. Saving is about saving us from ourselves, from all those thoughts, that darkness that I had been swimming in. The saving was the light. The saving was the love. The saving was giving myself permission to receive it. And that is what I want to share, because, there's a scripture. It's 1 Peter. 1 Peter, I think it's 1 Peter 10. I've got it written down here. And I won't say the whole thing, but the end of it says that, when you allow God to be in your life, that he takes you from nothing to something, and he helps you go from rejection to acceptance. And that is exactly what happened for me. Exactly. And I think that, so now, I have the opportunity to share what I learned with women. And as you mentioned, I've been doing this for 15 years, and really allowing I feel so privileged to be able to share. As you said, I wrote a book after this. I documented my experiences. I created the Sparkle system, and then I was able to and I still do, coach hundreds, I think thousands of people at this point, women who have been through betrayal, who are feeling lost, successful women who really feel confident and feel like they, know how to move through life, and then to come up against a betrayal from somebody that you thought you could trust, from somebody that you really allowed to know you and to share your life. And that can take you down to those depths of despair. So what I'm really grateful for is the ability to bring those women to understand where to source their significance. Because a lot of times, and this is what I had been doing in my marriage and before this happened for me, sourcing my significance in a doing masculine power, that's where I thought the power was. And yet what I learned was that was empty. Yes, you'd achieve your accomplishments, the accolades, all of that, but it wasn't the fullness of doing it from a place that was the truth. And so what I love to do is to help women clear out those limiting beliefs that drive them and push them for their accomplishments based on, this is how they get their importance. This is how they get their significance. This is how they get their value. This is how they feel like they're enough. This is how they feel like they can be lovable. I am able to help them really understand the true source of power and to gain their significance from that true source. Because when we as women try to source from a different place, from an ego place, we don't realize it's ego, but anytime we're trying to do it to feel more important or to feel more significant, that's the ego place. And whenever we try to do that, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. I'm going to tell you, it is so dangerous. And, it talks about that also in Peter. I think it's 1:11. I want to find that quote because it is so, it talks about, don't indulge your ego at the expense of your soul.
Wow.
And I love that scripture because I think it's a fine line for a lot of us. It sure was for me. That's how I was sourcing all of my power. And I kept coming up empty. So that's what I love about what I get to do now, is to really help women find their significance in a way that's aligned with God. Because when you stay in that alignment, no matter what obstacles come up, you know you're not alone. And you know that your strength is going to come from not what you're pushing to try to make happen, but from your inner strength. And I call it your diamond power. I call it your diamond power because it is, we all, as especially, all of us, but because I work primarily with women, that was the vision I was given, that deep inside each of us is this diamond. And, there's no two diamonds alike. And Judy, when I looked up what the meaning of diamond was, I discovered it's God's stone. And so within each of us is this beautiful diamond that is unique to us. And what about a diamond is strong? And in order for a diamond to become a diamond, it has to go through tremendous pressure, has to go through hard, really significant times, pressurized times, to get those beautiful cuts that, when the sun shines on them, when the light shines on them, it makes it sparkly and beautiful. And, the more cuts it has, the more value it has typically. So it's the same for us. And so to really help clear away all the gunk, the sludge of all the curveballs and disappointments that we go through in life, to really be able to stay connected to that diamond power, which is really your connection to God. For me, it's God, as we're talking this month of faith. And so I love that you said faith is an action, because yes, you have to take action to clear those things. You have to take action, and you have to trust that God is guiding you every step of the way. And when you take action that's based in, really connecting to and aligning with God, your life is going to be much more easy. And really, Judy, the ultimate thing is, I think we all want freedom. We all want love. I think I remember hearing, I'm not sure if it was Tony Robbins, but it's known that the key core thing that people want is to know that they matter, to know that they're loved. And so to be able to help people get to that place where they know who they are, where they know whose they are, and to know their significance, and that it doesn't have anything to do with how much they've accomplished in life, that it just is. And so that to me is the ultimate, is to know that when you allow yourself to be saved in that, the way that I'm sharing, maybe this is not the way that a religion would describe it, but I'm not a person who is really strong in religion. I am strong in Jesus, because he was all about love. That's what I discovered. I discovered he's all about love, and we definitely need that in this planet. And so I feel like to learn more about being, in a state of permission for yourself to receive his love is so freeing. It gives you the freedom that you're all looking for. Everybody's trying to accomplish things to gain a freedom in a way that the culture says you'll gain freedom. Have this much money and you'll feel free. Live in this zip code and you'll feel free. Wear this designer and you'll feel free. All these things that we think will make us free. And that's not it. The true freedom is when we allow ourselves that love, because that love gives us the knowing that we are loved, And that is the self-love we are all looking for. And it allows us to grow in our capacity to hold that love. And divine love, God just wants to be pouring through us all the time to flow. And if we allow that, we are free, because it feels so good, right, Judy? I know that you're a woman of big faith. Doesn't it feel so good to let that love flow through, and life becomes so much easier. So
Yes.
That's really, if you take nothing else from this story, that's the key to freedom. That's the key to freedom and a life that you will love, is to allow that love in. So
Ah,
that's my one point that I would like to also hope that you take away from this talk today, is a question that I asked myself when I was in having some issues with my mom. Because, the thing is, okay, that's great, Sherri, this talk about love, but how do you put it into practice, right? How do you apply it? Lots of ways that we don't have time to talk about today, but there's one that I want to give you that is something that will really shift you. And it's something 15 years ago that a powerful question that I asked when I was having issues with my mom.
mhm.
And I don't know about any of you out there, but growing up, there was a push-pull relationship with my mom. And I just always dreamed of being able to have a great relationship with my mom. I wanted nothing more than that, but it just wasn't happening in the way that I was experiencing my interactions with my mom. And so there was this one day where we were really butting heads. And I remember walking outside and just putting my hands up to the sky and saying, God, what would love do? What would love do? And Judy, in that moment, God gave me a vision of my mom, allowing me to see her in a way that I had never seen her before. And I went from, when we're at odds with people, what is really going on? We're not getting our way. I was so self-absorbed, with what I was feeling, frustrated, and I wasn't seeing things from her viewpoint. And so God gave me that gift. That question gave me that gift. What would love do? To see my mom. And seriously, an instant, I shifted to compassion.
Yeah.
And deep understanding and compassion and acceptance. And when I walked in the house, the most amazing thing had happened. My mom shifted without me saying a word. My shift caused her to shift. So that's so important for us to get, is that we're always waiting for the other person to change. And we have the power, by asking the right questions, by coming from a place of love, to shift what we can shift ourselves. And when we do that, it does have the power to change the dynamics in any relationship. And so as I walked in and my mom shifted, she looked at me, and Judy, for the first time ever in our relationship, she explained to me why she was upset. Because she had the tendency of just shutting down and not talking. So for the first time in her life, she explained to me why she was upset. And from that point on, our relationship changed, I'm going to say like 85, 90%. Because what she used to say that used to trigger me no longer triggered me. I had released it with that understanding, and I would just laugh. And then she stopped saying the things that triggered me. It just changed the whole relationship. So if any of you listening, I would really invite you, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling triggered, if you're feeling, and this goes even with social media. If you look on social media and somebody says something, because social media is so big now, if somebody says something, just before you respond, just ask yourself that question, and in any situation, if you can ask yourself that question, you will get an answer that will help evolve where you're at. Because I think it's Einstein that said you can never solve a problem at the level of consciousness it's created. You have to get above it. And the only way we can get above it is when we access and get into alignment with God's frequency, whatever that is for you, divine love, whatever that is for you. So that is what I would like to impart and share with those of you listening. If you take that tool and add it into your life, you're gonna really see some big changes.
Wow. Whoa. Thank you so much. I'm writing down all these notes there.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
Thank you, Judy.
what would love do here?
Mhm.
Wow. I think I need a tattoo here. Yeah.
Me too. We all need the reminders.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. There's so many gold nuggets here. I can't wait to, rewind and put it on YouTube. But I want to ask you a question
Sure.
thank you so much for being you.
Oh,
And
thank
for,
you.
and for talking about that betrayal part that's a part of the evolution of our souls, actually, right? And that the rejection to acceptance. I love that. And I want to ask you, like, what can we hold for you, Sherri Nickols, as a community? What would you love? What would you love? I know it's like, what would love do, but what are you feeling pulled to or drawn to that we can hold for you, the energy of all of us hold for you, Sherri?
Judy, that is so lovely. Thank you. That is just beautiful. I have had the nudge and the calling to have a talk show that really addresses this and brings people to the knowing of divine love. And to that would be what you could hold for me, that comes to fruition. And that, I just am a vessel that God can work through to bring his message more expansively on a bigger platform to the world.
Whoa, totally see that. Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you. Thank you.
All right, well, so here we go. We're going to put some energy your way. You just have to catch it, right?
Oh, I'm catching it all right.
All right. So here we go. We're going to rub it together to get the energy from Texas and all over the world here.
That's
Whoosh.
the biggest energy there is, right?
Yeah. There you go. Catch it.
I'm
Wow.
catching it. I'm catching it. Yay.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm just can't wait to get this out into the world. And you're such a light and a diamond yourself. What a sparkling diamond you are. Thank you so much.
You are so sweet, Judy, and you are just glistening. And so are you, Suzanne. I mean, yeah, I see the glow. I see the glow. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be a part of your show, Paradigm Shifters. It's a really amazing show that you're doing, Judy.
Amen.
Yeah.